Okay, so yesterday we were able to get it to crank. I put new batteries in it so I wasn't fighting the jump packs. I had to take the solenoid, the starting solenoid apart and free up the plunger. It was kind of rusted up. When I couldn't get the vehicle to start, this plunger was actually seized up. I am going to take that apart and clean it and make a schematic for it because I can't seem to find one. I was able to find a manual online, the operator's manual, which included the electrical wiring diagram. And it also included stuff like information about this funky looking key. So when you stick the key in the ignition, there's a spot that says 0, 1, and 2. Now, it doesn't matter where this key's at. I can crank the engine over. Well, position 0 is just key on. If the key's out of the ignition, key off. If it's in, key on, everything's powered up. Position 1 is park lights. Position 2 is park lights and headlights. So, kind of strange. And you can turn it over there and still take the key out and drain your battery down. So something to, watch for. This is a throttle control. So you set your idle by turning the knob and it pulls the gas lever. You have to unwind it to stall the engine. So a few things I've learned. Now, the other thing I was trying to find out about was the fuel system and priming and bleeding the fuel system. There is a screw on the side of the injection pump that I need to crack open once I get fuel up to the fuel filter. I don't have fuel up to the fuel filter. I was trying to crank it over last night. I tried pumping the little hand pump on the fuel pump. Okay, so there's a primer right here. We just have to pump this up and down, and I'm gonna keep pushing this and see if anything happens. Nothing. I actually sprayed a little bit of ether in there, got it to fire up, just seeing if some RPMs on the regular mechanical fuel pump would be enough for it to pick up fuel, but it wasn't. It's still not picking up fuel. Now this has a modified fuel tank. The fuel tank's normally on the left-hand side of the vehicle. Since this is an American build, the left is the driver's side. The previous owner removed that and put an oversized fuel tank on the other side of the vehicle. The fuel filler is in the rear fender. It's kind of weird. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do there because it looks like it's going to be hard to fill. But the fuel lines are dry rotted underneath the vehicle. So I'm going to crawl underneath there, replace some lines, going to the solenoid. I don't know what this solenoid is. I don't know if it's a pump, but here's a wire coming off of it. So I have no idea what that solenoid is, if he was planning on running 2 tanks and having a switching solenoid, but there's a bunch of lines going to it already, so I don't really know. I'm hoping that it's a electric fuel pump of some sort, but I'm at least going to replace the lines that are ruptured. I brought home a little vacuum pump. I will try to suck fuel up to this area, because if that hand pump is dry, it may be really difficult for me to get fuel to come from the tank all the way up here. And then once we get fuel up here, we can bleed the injection pump and actually try to start it again. Because right now there's no point in even cranking it over if I don't have fuel up to the engine. I did pull the filter off and drained the fuel that was in the reservoir. Son of a... It didn't really smell like diesel. It felt more oily, so it could just be really old diesel. I don't really know. So hopefully there's no other damage. Hopefully the injectors are still good. He did have them replaced previously or rebuilt. Hopefully they're still good after sitting this long. Okay, so here is the, I think it's a pump thing on the frame rail, and here's the line that's ruptured. So I'm hoping that if I fix this and apply power to the wire. Now it's really big right here, and I couldn't find the ground wire because this turns into just that single white wire. Well, it has a ground strap. Even though it's rubber mounted, there's a ground strap going to the frame rail. So I'm betting that this is a pre-filter of some sort, because the cap can come off the bottom, and it's a pump as well. So I'm going to at least replace the one line that's completely ruptured, and I'm betting that that is the supply line to the tank. We should probably still use the vacuum pump to try and draw some fuel into here. I guess we can try powering it on and see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll just prime up like no problem. But otherwise, we'll use a vacuum pump to suck fuel into at least this. And then if we power it up, it should, bleed out the rest of the system. And then in the back of the 4Runner, there's some fuel line.
Okay.
Yes. Now, I suppose to prevent, any junk that's settled in this line over the years from entering the pump, maybe we should try to, get some fuel flowing through this line. So I'm gonna grab my vacuum pump, I'll hook onto this line and pump it a few times, see if we can get some diesel fuel out. That'll also give us an idea of what the diesel fuel smells like, see if it smells like something we actually want to run through this engine, or if I'm gonna have to drain this tank. Now, I don't know if the modern vacuum pumps are this robust. This is an old Sears one. I use it for just about everything. I've had gasoline in it, diesel in it, brake fluid in it. Okay, so the stuff coming out of there, it doesn't look as clear as diesel should, but it smells like diesel. We'll just hook that up onto the pump, and I'm probably gonna have to do something different with this line to prevent it from kinking. I'm guessing that when he added this pump in here, he just cut the line right here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put a longer hose on that. And kind of spliced into it. So it wasn't like this pump was supposed to be mounted here. It's kind of an afterthought. If I just tweak the line a little bit, the steel line, maybe I can not kink the rubber hose. I'll probably find a better solution for that later on. We'll see if that'll get us by for now. The hose is slightly kinked, but maybe it'll work. Okay, I think we'll go back up under the hood and see if there's a spot where I can hook my vacuum pump again and prime this pump. Once the pump's primed, we should be able to hook power up to it, and as long as the pump is still good, which it looks like an industrial pump, if the pump's still good, it'll pump it all the way up front and we won't have any issues. Okay, I still have the filter loose on the engine because that'll be an indication if I'm getting fuel up here. There's a bleeder on the injection pump here that I'm supposed to take that screw loose and bleed all of the air out before starting the engine, according to the service manual. Here is the hand pump, which I tried pumping yesterday and didn't get anything. But now that we have the fuel line fixed, maybe we will get something. Or not. I think we'll just try to hook power up to the pump and see what happens. Okay, I can hear the pump running. And I'm getting fuel leaking out of the filter housing, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten the filter back into place. I'm also leaking fuel at the fuel return line on the side of the head. So we'll probably have to address this. I'm getting drips out of here. I don't know if it's the line that's loose or the line nut where it goes through the head is loose. Okay, now that I have the filter housing screwed back on, if you guys could see that, that would be helpful. I'm going to go ahead and run the pump again, make sure I don't have any leaks.
I run the pump.
Mm-hmm. Touch it to the terminal. Yep. Go ahead and just hold it on. I'm not seeing any leaks, so now I need to crack the bleeder on the injection pump. Now, I do like the idea of having the additional electric fuel pump on the frame rail, because before we even started working on this, I was watching, I think their channel is called Bezel Bus, another couple that has a van like this, and they broke down in Norway, and they were having problems with their mechanical fuel pump on the engine. They're having quite a bit of difficulties. Okay, so it looks like we're getting plenty of fuel out of there.
Can you do it again?
No, there's plenty of fuel flowing. So maybe that electric pump on the frame rail will prevent, getting stranded from that mechanical pump failure. I'm sure that the mechanical pumps are pretty reliable, as long as they're, not built like the modern stuff. I know most of the modern aftermarket fuel pumps for American V8 vehicles are complete garbage. I think we're ready to try starting it again. Okay, so now, I don't know how to run the glow plugs. We're just going to try and start it. And I don't think I want the throttle turned up much here. I'm a little nervous. It sounded like it was going to start. It just kind of scares me.
Why?
And it runs. And it actually seems like it runs pretty good. I have the idle turned down quite a bit. And you have to shut it off manually. There is no kill switch. You have to turn the throttle all the way down, and it'll cut off the fuel going to the engine. So that's a good sign. Now that it's run for a little bit, I'm going to double check for major fluid leaks underneath. Check for the oil level condition, oil level and condition, coolant level, before we go any further. Okay, so my air brake pressures are a little low. I do have oil pressure now. We had to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 quarts. I don't have a park brake. I don't know if my clutch, okay, it feels like I have clutch pressure. I don't know if I have brakes. We're gonna try and move. I'm going to go to first gear. Maybe. Okay, my clutch is not working very well. I'm going to stall the engine, then put it in gear. We're going to crank it up while we're in gear, which isn't the safest thing, but I made sure to clear a path in the driveway. And I'm still running over a log, I think. So we definitely don't have brakes. And we don't have power steering. And I don't know if I'm in first gear, because it doesn't seem like that is very low. So I'm going to have to shut it off. And let the clutch out. Okay, I was starting in third gear. Okay, that's it for now. It runs and drives. We still got to work on the brakes. Got to work on the clutch a little bit. I have a feeling the air system for the brakes needs some work. I'm not reaching maximum air pressure, so I don't know if I have a leak somewhere or if that pump is just worn out. It's lubricated off the engine, I'm thinking, but I'm not sure. So that's something I'll have to look in the manual. And I think that's it. So until we get some brakes going, we can't really drive it off the property. Probably need some more oil. I don't think I had it any more around the house. So we'll make sure all the fluids keep topped up. Watch for leaks. Hope you guys like it so far. I think it's gonna be a cool bus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.